We have to check back in on some of the madness that is the potential Trump cabinet, right? As we've seen him have quite the uphill battle trying to get the support he needs as he continuously picks women abusers and conspiracy theorists to fill some of the most important roles in American politics. Well, Pete Hegseth, his pick for Secretary of Defense, fills the woman abuser half of those qualifications and has had quite the bumpy road thanks to some allegations made against him, including one by his mom, and including one of which by a woman he potentially sexually assaulted and then paid an NDA to not tell anyone. Sound familiar to anyone in terms of the Republican Party? So let's watch a literal gremlin and Rick Scott get humiliated by Jake Tapper on CNN for his attempts to defend this, folding after a rather simple question.
The woman who accuses Pete of raping her in 2017, although the police, we should note, did not charge him with any crime. That woman, Pete Hegseth, paid her money and she signed a non-disclosure agreement, so she can't come on my show to talk about it. Do you think Pete should release her from the NDA so that I can ask her the questions that you want me to?
Absolutely not. Think about it. Jake, you know,
absolutely
how many people,
not?
Wait, Jake. We know how many people sign non-disclosures just to eliminate something. Not that they ever did anything wrong, and he was never charged with anything.
Do you want me to ask her questions, or do you not want me to ask her questions? I'm confused.
So I'm not going to suggest that somebody, change a contract that they sign, but look, this is Trump's nominee. He won. A lot of people don't like the fact that he won. He won. We have to make a change as Department of Defense. We have the risk of war. The world's on fire. We've got to change how our Department of Defense is run.
It's like whatever the reason the NDA was signed, that priority now should be clearing Pete Hegseth's name so he can become Secretary of Defense, right? Like, especially if you're saying he didn't do anything wrong and the truth will come to light if we get to ask her all these questions and all of this. Like, why would he not lift the NDA and then we can just easily sort this out and boom, 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 he's Secretary of Defense. But it's hilarious then when demons like Rick Scott are like, well, we can't question her, so we'll never know. If only we could question her, the truth would come to light. And the reason we can't question her that he's not mentioning is because Pete paid her a ton of money to prevent her from ever being able to talk about it. I wonder why he would do that. I mean, if there's one thing to be sure about, and to never be fooled on no matter what these clowns try to say or do to convince you, is people don't sign an NDA for no reason. These aren't just signed, right? They sign them because they're scared what might happen if people hear what that person has to say and they have the money to deal with that problem. He didn't pay her, probably to the tune of 6 figures, because he did nothing wrong and he's just being careful. And the reluctance to allow her to speak now, when that could just clear his name if he didn't do anything wrong, gives the entire game away. I mean, look at what happened when Trump's victim got off her NDA. The last thing Pete wants is accountability like that.
You started this interview and saying you don't like all these anonymous accusations and I should be able to interview these people. I'm saying, okay, shouldn't Pete Hegseth release this woman from her non-disclosure agreement so that I can do what you suggested at the top of the interview you wanted me to do?
Absolutely not. I mean, some of these things are done for a variety of reasons. But look,
how am I supposed to interview her and have her not be anonymous anymore if he won't release her from the non-disclosure agreement?
Well, first off, there was an investigation. He wasn't charged. All right, that's exactly what happened. The police did the investigation. He wasn't charged.
He did pay her money to be quiet, though.
So there was an investigation. He wasn't charged.
This is something that is unfortunately just seen in men generally in these kinds of like circles when we're talking about sexual assault, and especially in like more conservative circles to escape culpability. It's this circular kind of argument that is used to, instead of explain or take accountability, to always have blame or at least doubt placed on the victim rather than, empathy or trust, the things we should be doing for victims. Another example or way that you could see this with sexual assault is like when it's not reported immediately, like, oh, well, why didn't they report it immediately? Like, oh, did you like it and change your mind or whatever the disgusting, talking point is from there. And it's just circling back through what happened to always place the focus back on the other person without actually explaining any of your own actions or wrongdoing in hopes that you then never have to. Like, they want her to be questioned so the truth can come out. And this is what needs to happen. So it's like, well, why isn't she allowing questions to happen? Why is she anonymous? We can't trust an anonymous source. Like, let's put doubt. Let's blame the anonymous source. But, the reason that they can't question her is because of the NDA that they definitely can't release that Pete paid that is preventing her from doing so. But they're leaving that part out. And they're just mentioning again how anonymous allegations, you can't believe anonymous allegations. Like, we can't hear from the victim or even know who she is. How can we trust her? Like, yeah, that's by design. Pete wanted it to be this way. That's why he paid it. And it's his doing that he could undo, but he's not going to.
Why don't people respect these people that defend our freedom? I
don't know what you're
proud of my
talking
father. He fought in the Second World War. He did all the combat jobs. He put his life on the line. Pete put his life on the line. Respect him.
Well, I respect veterans and soldiers all the time, but that's not really the point. I mean, millions of Americans have served in the military. That doesn't mean that they should be in charge of the military.
Well, here's a guy that put his life on the line, right? He's fought for veterans since he got out. He's got the right background. He knows the problem of wokeness. He's going to fix the problems of the military.
Right. Wokeness in the military. What all of our generals are really complaining about. The true problem. They allow women in leadership positions. Like, they lost it a long time ago. I love this last ditch desperate plea. However, though, like, well, he's a veteran. Like, right? We can't go after veterans. Like, okay. That doesn't mean that he can't be a bad person. Tim Walz was a veteran, and didn't, you guys just crucify him for the last month? It doesn't mean that he shouldn't go through confirmation the same way that anybody else would. The same standard they held, say, Ketanji Brown Jackson to. I wonder why they gave a black woman hell in getting confirmed and proving she's qualified, but they want a white man confirmed with no questions asked. It's kind of weird, isn't it?